Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse here, and I am back for another quick event recap video, and just wanted to give my thoughts, as you see on the webpage that we're kind of cycling through here. I wanted to give just a few quick thoughts and impressions on the Microsoft Windows 11 event that happened this morning. So this will probably go up as a bonus video today. But I don't know. I mean, we've known about this new version of Windows for a little while now. You know, there was going to be Windows 10X when they were looking at more of that hybrid type design, and then Microsoft canceled that. And it was really interesting because, you know, everyone keeps kind of talking about how when Windows 10 came out, they were like, oh, you know, this is the last version of Windows you're really going to need. We're just going to continually update this with minor and major updates as the cycle goes. But that appears not to be the case. So they are going to call it Windows 11. I don't know when it is coming out. We don't seem to have any release dates yet. I've done a little poking around and got a couple tidbits that weren't in the description. The good news is, for existing Windows 10 users, which should be everybody using a Windows PC at this point, because Windows 7 has been technically not supported for, a few years now. I can't even remember when they quit. So it is a free upgrade. So, I mean, I'm glad they're not... I hope it's not a time-limited thing like they were trying with Windows 10. Apple's done OS 10 updates for free for years now, so it only makes sense. And it only makes sense for Microsoft to do that as well. So that is good. And the article on The Verge that I saw basically says you have to have a 64-bit operating system, minimum of 4 gigs of RAM, and what was it? It's like 64 gigs of hard drive space, something like that. So, yeah, it seems like it's going to be pretty reasonable. If you have any sort of fairly modern PC, you should be okay. If it'll run Windows 10, it should more than likely run Windows 11. And yes, there are definitely some visual changes to this. Mainly, like, there seems to be an improved, light and dark themes. Like the dark mode looks a little bit better. They've rounded off some edges, kind of made it more mobile-like, kind of made it more in tune with what you would find on a mobile operating system for a phone or a tablet, Android, iOS, what have you. And the start menu is in the middle, interestingly enough. Like, everything is kind of centered. So it kind of reminds me of like the Apple dock in a way. So I guess that's what they're going for. But I did hear in some people who got some sort of a leaked version early that you can put that back to the left if you want to. It seems like they're doing away with the tile design of Windows 8 and Windows 10. And they are basically putting some kind of icons in a grid across the top part of the start menu, because the start menu is not just an up and down menu. It's more of like a start screen, almost what you would kind of think of when you open a web browser, like when you open Chrome, and if you have it set to not open any tabs, you kind of have like a search, and then you have all these little rows and columns of icons and different kind of shortcuts to things. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like your starting browser splash page. But you're going to have your search box as you, as you've had in Windows 7 and Windows 10, which is great because that's pretty much how I operate my computer. Yes, I still have tons of icons on my desktop because they're just placed there and I just really don't delete them. But the vast majority of the time, I just hit the Windows key, start typing what I want to run, or even like a setting or an app, and boom. It just works. So that's great. But yeah, so, there's going to be a visual redesign a bit, but it still doesn't look like they're straying too far away from like what made Windows 10 good. There's kind of always this joke with Windows is that every other version is terrible. You get a good version, then you get a bad version. And I'm hoping that this is kind of just like it almost feels more like a Windows, more optimized version of Windows 10, maybe, is what I'm sort of secretly hoping for. Because we don't want to have another Windows Millennium or a Windows Vista or Windows 8. Blah. All of those were just not good. But the way that I think Satya Nadella and his team are steering the ship, I think we're in better hands, and I'm pretty intrigued, and especially with some of the work that they're doing in the accessibility department. They're adding all these features, accessibility features to Windows and Xbox, and I've been participating in the the Microsoft Low Vision Advisory Board for quite a while, and I've kind of been getting some sneak peeks at some potential stuff there. It is under NDA, so I cannot talk about any of it, but it's cool. There's definitely some hope there. So I'm hoping that Windows 11 will kind of just be, a little bit of a redesign. Hopefully there won't be too many like driver growing pains and compatibility issues. That's the major thing that I'm always sort of curious about. But a few things that they covered in this fairly short event, actually, probably half hour, 45 minutes. Microsoft's official stream actually had some trouble, so I ended up tuning into like a restream via YouTube. There were some buffering issues for the Microsoft stream, but like I said, there's going to be a visual redesign. They have a light mode, they have a dark mode. So there's that. That's good that they're keeping all those. The start menu, is in the middle in the redesigned start menu. They're doing a lot more focus on like presenting information to you more friendly. So like one of the things I really like in, since Windows 7 is you can split the screen, vertically, let's say, and I can have two apps side by side, split down the middle. And I have used that a fair bit to have two different programs visually. I can pop side to side and see what I want to on each one, or you can even put them in the corners. But they're kind of going beyond that, both with split view and also desktops. So I'm trying to remember if I did a video on this a while ago. If I haven't, I should. During the pandemic, I discovered, I knew that this was a feature forever, but I just never bothered to look into it. And I have become a huge, what would you call it? Huge supporter of the multiple desktops thing. Before, I'm like, well, why would I do that? I can just Alt-Tab or whatever. Multiple desktops, I've really become fond of that over the pandemic because I've just done so many things working on work and personal things, working from home on the same machine sometimes. And they're making it so that you can do like as many desktops as you want. You can have different wallpapers and different setups with each one now, because when you do it in Windows 10, like your wallpapers and stuff, they sort of carry over. Your desktops look the same, but you can have different sets and combinations of programs, which is cool. But they're taking that further. But then they're also taking it so that you can have different, like let's say there's a workflow that you always use. Like, oh, I have my mail and a word processor open, or I have my audio editor and I don't know, some other program that I always work with together. So you can basically have groups of applications that you can kind of switch back and forth between on the fly, just like you can independent programs. So that could be kind of helpful, actually. And it will remember if you're using, let's say, a laptop and you have a monitor plugged in, you have your workflow there, you unplug it, and then you go somewhere, it kind of optimizes for that. But then when you plug it in, it just kind of remembers where you are and brings back your bigger monitor desktop workflow, UI that you have up there. So there's some nice stuff with that. That could be really helpful. I could see that being pretty good. Of course, they've added Teams directly into Windows now, so it seems like Skype is going away, which to me, like, Skype was cool for its day, but, we have Teams, we have Zoom, we have Discord, we have all of these different things, and quite frankly, they've never really improved the audio quality of Skype. Like, Skype's audio quality is just really pretty bad. So, yeah, I mean, I've used Teams for work. I've used Teams for my Microsoft stuff, and it works pretty well, and it is pretty accessible. At least, like, the communication part is. Like, some of the, like, overall navigating, and, like, if you're on, like, a business Teams and you got all these, like, conversations and stuff, that is kind of messy. And I much prefer that on mobile than I do on the desktop, just because there is kind of so much clutter and different panes of information and stuff. But I think it's more of a lighter version, kind of a Skype-y version of Teams that's going to be built into Windows. You have widgets. They're bringing back. Remember when, like, Windows 98 was it early Windows XP, when they would have these little widget things? But it's kind of like this little pane of glass that kind of comes up. Almost think about like your notifications screen when you go all the way to the left on the home screen on iOS. Like, you have your kind of customized view. You can put whatever widgets in whatever order and size that you want there. So you can have your news, your weather, your traffic, your whatever you want to put in there. Whatever apps are supported in that kind of widget format, you can customize and put in there. So yeah, sure, that could be convenient for some things. So they have that. What else do they have? They focused on redesigning the store, which definitely needs a bit of work. I do use the store especially for getting some of the Game Pass games, the Game Pass for PC games, which they also talked about. I just hope that the store works better, because, like, currently in Windows 10, like, sometimes I'll go to search for a game, I'll find it, and I'll click the install button, and, like, nothing will happen. Like, I can't get the thing to work. And I'll either have to, like, close the store, or sometimes even just reboot my computer. And then when I go to the store, it'll just download, and it'll just work right away. So there's something really kind of glitchy with the current store at times. And it just, I hope that they do a better job of, like, it's like I said on, if you missed it, go check out the Breakdown Walls podcast. I guested on that with Brandon Cole last week, and we talked all about E3 and everything. And one of the things that I had talked about in there was that I hope they do a better job of clearly telling us which games are going to be on Game Pass for Xbox versus Game Pass for PC, because everything comes to Game Pass for Xbox, but not everything really does come to PC, which there have been a couple of games that I've wanted to try on my Windows machine, but it just hasn't done, So I don't know. I hope that they do that. I hope that they make that process a little bit better, just to clearly say what will run on your PC, and make that a little bit clearer. And then, of course, remember Xcloud. So if you want to run a game that looks really, really cool, like, I don't know, maybe Flight Simulator, it takes a behemoth of a machine to run, or, any of these next-gen games, maybe Halo Infinite when it comes out this year, Forza Horizon 5. If you have a lower spec machine, but you have a good internet connection, you can use their Xcloud service and still take advantage of these Game Pass games. It's not going to be quite as, there might be a tinge more lag. But, if Google Stadia and Luna are any indication, which I've tested in the past, I have to try Xcloud or whatever it's called. I haven't tried that one yet, so I really should, and just see how it compares. But if it's anything like these other ones, that could be, I still would generally want to have my games downloaded to my machine for optimal performance. But if I'm in a place where I don't have that, but I have decent internet and I still want to play something, I'm glad we have that option, or maybe we're in a situation where we are right now. Well, we can't find video cards and we can't find computers because the stock is just so low that, even if I wanted to upgrade, I really would have trouble doing so. So I will maybe try a couple of these games via the cloud just to see how they look on their highest settings. You know, there are a lot of different applications for that type of thing, even if you're not using it as your primary means of gaming. They did also mention Windows 11 being more optimized, having some of the technologies that they built into the Xbox Series X and S, like basically offsetting some of the stuff more to the GPU and this fast something about like fast memory switching stuff where it kind of frees up your CPU, but your games will load a lot quicker. I mean, even some lighter games recently, like I've been playing a game I haven't done a video for yet, but I've been just starting this other crazy little game called Castle Flipper. It's sort of similar but different to House Flipper. And it's like when you start the game, it takes a good maybe minute or two to load. And that's even getting to the main menu. So, I mean, what I've seen with the PS5 so far, yeah, being able to just, on a PC that supports it, just being able to zip right into games and have them load much faster and optimized and cross-play, cross-saves. All that stuff is great, and Microsoft is really embracing that openness in everything that they're doing, which I really like. Which reminds me, I did kind of get a kick out of, they had a couple of, I don't want to say cheap shots, but they did take a little subtle shots about like, yeah, and with our store, if you want to even have, if you want to work with us and use our marketing and our infrastructure, go ahead, you absolutely can. But hey, if you want to bring your own, you want to make your own marketplace on top of Windows, Steam, Epic, whatever platform, go for it. And guess what? We don't take any money from those. We don't take any money. I could definitely tell with all the drama with Apple going on right now. So I did get a kick out of that. They're like, yeah, you can use us, but, if you want to do something on your own, feel free. We just want to make it easy to put your stuff in the store. The other interesting store thing that they did say is they're supporting Android apps, which is good, but I'm not particularly keen on the way they're doing it. So apparently they're partnering with the Amazon store, and I've owned Kindle devices. The Amazon App Store is okay if you really just want the main, like your totally mainstream, everybody gets like Twitter and Facebook and those types of apps, but those are already in the store anyway. But, even when I had a Kindle, one of the things that I would do is I would figure out how to sideload the actual Play Store into it because they didn't have the apps that I wanted. And I tried to do a search right now just to see. I don't think Voice Dream Reader, for instance, is still in the Amazon App Store, so you only can get it through the Play Store. So, okay, it's nice that they're doing some Android stuff, but I really wish it was the Play Store and not Amazon, because I don't really like the limited number of apps that Amazon has in their fork of the App Store. Because I was thinking, oh, well, God, if you could, let's say you had an Android phone or you just had Voice Dream Reader in general, if you could use Voice Dream on your PC to read Bookshare books and stuff on the computer, that could be pretty cool. But I'll have to ask Winston about that. I'll have to send him an email and see, like, hey, are you going to be added to the Amazon App Store? Because then you would have a Windows 10 app, and, like, you totally should do that because your app is great. So the App Store stuff is kind of interesting. I hope they do fix some of the stuff and make it work a little bit better, a little bit faster. What else? That was really... I mean, the stuff that I talked about, like, as I'm recapping it for you, I already posted a little tweet. I'm like, I was kind of meh on the whole keynote presentation because there was there was some detail, but not a lot. Oh, the other thing that I did want to mention, the part that I did like, the one demo that I did sort of like, and I wish I could have seen more of, especially in the dark theme, because they covered it in the light theme, One of my major complaints about using Windows with a touchscreen, especially on a tablet, I've got that Surface Go. And if you use it in tablet mode, yeah, it works okay, but like Windows, especially like Win32 apps, has really kind of not been super touch friendly. Like a lot of your checkboxes, your controls, the little close and minimize, maximize buttons in the upper right corner. It seems like they're trying to flesh that out a little bit. So like if you, let's say, had your Surface Go and you had your keyboard connected, when you remove the keyboard, it spaces out the icons a little bit more. I guess it kind of makes some of the buttons a little bit bigger. So maybe as you get close to them, or if you put your finger near some of these buttons, I kind of hope that they do. It looked like they had little graphic-y animations or something to kind of make them stand out a little bit more. It's like if, even on the iOS keyboard, when you hover over and you hold on a key, it kind of gets a little bigger. If they do something more like that, with especially some of these really smaller icons and smaller controls, I think that would be really helpful. So I do hope that they've tuned that a bit more to be more touch friendly. I don't use a lot of touch devices on Windows, and even when I use my Surface, like I said, I have that keyboard with it, so I pretty much use the touchpad and the keyboard and don't really deal with touch very much. So that is good. But the presentation overall was, like I said, they didn't even tell when it was coming out or that it would be free. That's something they should have said. They should have said, hey, and guess what? If you're a Windows 10 user, it's going to be free. I had to go to The Verge to find that out. That would be something that you'd think they would want to promote right up front. There was a lot of fluff. There was just a lot of people standing there and talking. There was just a lot of people. We want to make sure that we connect with our community and our loved ones, and that we can be creators, and we can have, blah, blah, just all this typical like markety buzzword stuff that really, in the last couple of years, a lot of companies have kind of trimmed out of their keynotes. Apple, Google, there's been a little bit more of just like, hey, let's cut to like, oh, that there's a new iOS, that there's a new version of an operating system, or there's a new device that we're trying to launch. Let's just show you and tell you about those. We don't need to talk about our creators are our best assets and just all this stuff that really just doesn't need to be there. Let your products do the talking for you, rather than just kind of all these sort of buzzwordy statements. That part I really wasn't keen. I think what they showed and what they sort of explained was okay. Having recapped it now myself, it confirms sort of what we knew, but, it was decent. But I think just a lot of these little buzzwordy, just standing, talking people kind of brought the whole pacing of it down. It was like they were talking to their board members and marketing people or whatever. I am very intrigued it sounds like, I don't know if there are Windows 11 ready PCs now, because they sort of mentioned a couple sentences where like, go out and look for Windows 11 ready PCs and what, I don't know. That was sort of an interesting thing, but they really didn't go into it any more than really just saying that. I'm kind of glad I didn't upgrade my PC yet, because maybe I can get something that, really has some sort of optimization, especially for this like fast memory switching or something, this Xbox technology, whatever it is, probably these 11th gen Intel processors or what have you. So I'll have to look into that. Like I said, everyone is still scarce on parts and whatnot either, so who knows? But within the next, like I keep saying it, but within the next year or so, I'll probably have a new PC of some sort. That's kind of the wrap up of today's event. I'm going to learn some more accessibility stuff later this afternoon, probably because I have another meeting. But again, I'm not going to be at liberty to talk about that until the official release of Windows 11 happens. So I won't be able to talk about that for a little while, but just rest assured that I know we're working on it. So, like I said, I wish there was a little bit more deep dives or like demos or explanations, a little bit more forthcoming with the like release information. How much is it? When do we get it? What machines? I did find a little bit of that information later, but that is the Windows 10 event, or Windows 11 event. I'm so used to saying Windows 10. That is the Windows 11 event. Really curious to see. It's not, like I said, it seems like it's going to be more of an extension of Windows 10, so I don't know how. It doesn't seem like there's going to be as much compatibility issues as there were, let's say, going from 7 to 8 or 8 to 10. Hopefully that stuff will be a little bit smoother, but we'll have to wait and see. I am intrigued. I like a lot of where Microsoft is going, especially with the accessibility. So, I would love, because they know it. They know it. I've mentioned it. Other people have mentioned it on social media or talking to them directly. I want things like Narrator, but especially Windows Magnifier. There's a lot of games where I've complained if you run Magnifier, it won't magnify, or it clings to one area of the screen and you can't pan around. So I would love those types of accessibility features to work more universally, even when you're in, let's say, a DirectX app, like a game. If that would work better, I would be extremely grateful, because not all of the games right now are having text-to-speech. More are starting to. But the amount of games that don't have text to speech but still have a lot of text and menus and upgrades and skill trees and all kinds of stuff, there's a lot out there. So if I could even just use Magnifier comfortably, that would be really helpful. So those are some initial thoughts that I have for the Windows 11 event. I think we're done now. I think our June events are pretty well done. I have a lot of videos coming out, a lot of things that I've recorded. I still got to record the iPad Pro review. I haven't done that yet, and I want to get that out to you because I want to give you guys my thoughts on that. The ability to activate the trial period for Apple Arcade was coming down, so I decided to activate a 3-month trial for that. So I think I'm going to also try to take a look at some Apple Arcade games. Pretty much most, if not all of which, are going to be low vision. Unfortunately, I don't think there's any blind accessible Apple Arcade games at the moment. But like I said, I'm not opposed to playing on my phone or my tablet, but all this free-to-play microtransaction timer crap I hate. And so, hey, if I can get a more clean, traditional gameplay experience with Apple Arcade, well, let's look into it. So I want to look at that. Maybe we'll take a look at Xcloud sometime soon. July's a couple things might be coming out here, but especially when you get into August, September, there's just going to be a slew of games coming out. So lots of stuff coming up on the channel. I will probably be a little bit lighter on the streaming the rest of this month, just because I've done a lot of streaming around E3 and all these other events that my bandwidth toward the end of the month is going to be maybe a little bit close to their stupid Comcast cap. So I kind of want to make sure I have bandwidth left for work and other things that I need to do. So we'll see about streaming anything on the weekend. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79, twitch.tv/illegally-cited, illegally-cited.com, and right here on YouTube. So until next time, I will chat with you guys again later.